Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the largest cryptocurrency channel on all the interwebs. My name is TJ, and I'll be your host for today's episode of Around the Blockchain. Every weekday, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we come to you live to discuss the trending crypto topics of the day, as well as answer some of your most asked questions. Got a really good show lined up for you today. Got some really good guests. We will be joined by some of the fastest growing up-and-coming TikTok stars mentioned just recently in a Wall Street Journal or Washington Post article, CryptoWendyO, as well as Blockchain Boy. Then we've got Kryptoschain joining us today to talk about some dot stuff, and bringing down the house, Ben Armstrong, before he flies off to Texas to talk all those politics with the legislators. Ben Armstrong of BitBoy Crypto joining us today. We got a really good show, some really good discussions. We're going to be getting into $5 billion of USDC recently printed, and we've got the Tether printer going burr as well. Is this good for crypto? Could this precede potentially a big pump like we've seen in the past? We've got hedge funds becoming one of the biggest buyers we've seen as of late. We covered a story this morning that said 50% of hedge funds are now have some exposure to cryptocurrency. So could that be maybe potentially the biggest buyer we've been seeing create a lot of this volatility in these frothy markets lately? And lastly, I alluded to it at the beginning, with Ben going off to Texas to speak to the state representatives tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit about the states and how their regulation and legislation can impact the future of cryptocurrencies. As always, if you see in the bottom right-hand corner of each guest box, there is a score button. So if you like what you hear from any of the guests, make sure to drop a +1 in the chat. We'll know to give them a point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the episode will have 30 seconds to give the parting thought to the guests. And from there, we'll just take it away. So we have links to all the guest description in the comments below. So if you guys like what you're hearing, make sure to go give them a follow and show them that BitSquad love, help them pump up those channels. And for Blockchain Boy, he's specifically on TikTok. So no YouTube channel there, but you can find him on TikTok. It's a lot more fun, and a lot of people just, good vibes on TikTok. So if you haven't done it yet, check it out. So before we get too far, let's jump right into the questions. With the billions being added, we'll start with you, Ben. $5 billion in USDC, is this good for crypto? Do you think this will precede some potentially favorable prices?
Well, I mean, I think if you just look at the numbers from yesterday to today, I mean, right now we're at a 27% pump from yesterday's lows, which is pretty dramatic when you think about it. And I think this really goes to support the idea that I think we are going to be recovering. I mean, if we can just get back above 42K, which is only 3,000 higher than where we're at right now. I know it's a strong level, but, everybody can get really bullish again. And with seeing USDC print 5 billion, this is the most they've ever printed. The question is, would they be doing this at the top of a bear market? As you lead into a bear market? I think the answer to that question is no. What is Coinbase's primary objective? To get more people trading on Coinbase to help their bottom line, which ultimately will help, affect the bottom line of their public stock, the people are trading. So, and Goldman Sachs even said, today or yesterday, they believe that exposure to the Coinbase stock is the easiest and best way for people to get exposure to crypto. So it feels like a lot of people know something is coming. And I think this $5 billion number is by far the most that they've ever printed before. So they're expecting a lot of trading coming here in the short term. And the question is this, preceding the ultimate bull mania that we all believed was coming during the cycle? And I think the answer to that is yes. Is it going to be tomorrow? We don't know. But like I said, the markets are already up 27% today. So if we hadn't cratered, people would be thinking that's great. But now we're still trying to play catch up.
Just trying to get back to where we were before. Blockchain Boy, what's your take on both USDC and Tether? Do you think this is good for crypto, or do you buy into some of that traditional FUD that's been around Tether for a while about it could potentially hurt things?
I mean, personally, I think Tether was pretty sketch initially. I don't think they had one-to-one reserves backing it. Nowadays, it seems like they're too big to fail. I mean, Tether's traded more against Bitcoin than actual fiat, so if that tells you anything. But yeah, it is bullish news. I never thought the bull market would be over so quickly. Historical data does not point us towards the end of a market. I think this was a correction, and it was amplified by a lot of FUD, and I suspect market manipulation. But they wouldn't be printing this if they didn't expect high volume in the short term. And if we look at on-chain metrics, the new retail investors are the ones who sold. Long-term investors bought. A lot of Bitcoin moved off Coinbase, so they're expecting high liquidity.
Yeah. No, good point. Kryptoschain, why don't you hop in? What do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with Blockchain Boy. I mean, now that the FUD has cleared out with Tether, as we've seen with the legal action, with the lawsuit that they've had, I think that it's more and more people are going to be using Tether over USDC simply because it's just available on all these different exchanges. I mean, there are exchanges now that have added USDC. Like most of the exchanges have USDC, but I think Tether, being the oldest one, gives people maybe more, makes them more comfortable. And I think going forward, people are going to be using it, even though we should be thinking about trading crypto to crypto and not looking at fiat, right? But at the end of the day, Tether is a cryptocurrency, so we got to compare it to something, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It is better to go straight to crypto, but as Blockchain Boy mentioned, most of the trading that is get done is tied to stablecoins. So now we've got two stablecoins, both Tether and USDC, in the top 10 of overall market caps. Wendy, Kryptoschain alluded to the fact that he thinks more people will lean towards Tether. Do you see that changing in the future? Do you think USDC could ever catch Tether?
Well, it was actually announced. Decrypt reported on this because I remember seeing a little bit of some news buzz. But FTX and Circle partnered to improve USDC stablecoin support. FTX is an absolute force in the space. I really feel like they are the underdogs of margin trading platforms, and they just keep building and growing, which is absolutely amazing. But they have the FTX US. They acquired Blockfolio, and we have. Tether still has a really bad rap behind it from the SEC and all the drama that happened. So I feel like a lot more people are going to be utilizing USDC over USDT, which I use both of them. But the great thing about stablecoins now, and the reason why we use them not only to hedge our investments, but the amount of interest and passive income you can earn by just holding on like different cryptocurrency platforms is pretty impressive. So why would you not want to hold stablecoins?
Yeah, good point. Do you have any of those that you use personally that you'd like to recommend or that you are familiar with?
I use Celsius. I use Voyager. Gemini, you do have to lock up for a certain time. And I think crypto.com, you do have to lock up for a certain time. And then there's, of course, different farming platforms. But those you do have to be a little bit more cautious of. If you're going to use stablecoins to earn passive income, please use an exchange that is licensed and regulated in your area. And if you're feeling a little bit more degen, then you can go ahead and take a look at some of these farming platforms. But be pretty careful.
Ben, let me ask you this. Do you think we are past the point, like there's been a lot of FUD in the past that, like Blockchain Boy mentioned, a lot of people thought, that Tether didn't necessarily have all the Tether to back their reserves one-to-one like they were claiming. Do you think we've moved beyond the FUD that, if Tether was to come out, like that would crash the whole crypto market, that would take crypto to zero? Do you think things would just move to other stable coins, or do you think that's still a potential threat?
No, I love the way that Blockchain Boy said it, which I'm so happy to have another boy on the channel. So he's actually young. He's actually probably young enough to be classified as a boy, though, instead of having to degrade himself like I do. But the thing is, is that it's too big to fail at this point. Mm-hmm. And with the SEC lawsuit, well, it actually wasn't the SEC. It was actually the New York general attorney is who it was in the Southern District that was going after them. And now that they pretty much declared that like that thing's over, like it's over. Like now anything anybody says, it might as well just be China FUD at this point. Yeah. So it's too big to fail. Nobody cares anymore. And after this bill, the story of this bull run is written, I think we will see the final stamp on the Tether FUD. I think people in this bull run won't even know what that is anymore. I think 4 years from now, when we're reflecting back on this bull run, the majority of people in crypto will have no idea there was ever a thing with Bitfinex or Omni or, Brock Pierce or any of the super sketchy stuff around the beginning of Tether. So it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like The Rock right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if they had one-to-one reserves. It doesn't matter. Take that USDT, turn it sideways, and shove it up your candy. Never mind.
Oh, gosh.
What's your Rock video history, okay?
That was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could be a professional wrestler probably. But the thing is, shut up.
That's a good point.
That's one thing. That's one thing I can do. But I want to, BJ, if you want to show that USDC chart, it shows the dramatic increase of USDC today at the supply. And I want to point this out. I don't know if people understand this. This is the largest minting of a stable coin in history. We've never seen $5 billion print at one time. So this is very significant. They're anticipating a lot of trading coming up. And, you know, yeah, I think the Tether thing is the ship is done sailed.
Done sailed. Well, we're hearing a lot of talk about central bank digital currencies, specific governments like China creating the digital yuan. We've heard talks about a digital dollar in the works, potentially in the process of being worked on. We know Coinbase is really close with Goldman Sachs and Circle. They've, like Wendy mentioned, they've worked together with these stable coins and kind of the development of high volume stable coins. Do we think we could see the U.S. adopting USDC as potentially the U.S. stable coin, or do you think they're going to try to make their own and compete with the stable coins that are already on the market? I personally think they will just flip the script and kind of take USDC as the U.S. stablecoin versus trying to create their own from scratch and kind of running into some of the same issues we may have seen China run into. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. I'll start with you, Blockchain Boy. What's your take on the future of a digital dollar? Do you think they'll utilize something on the market or try to create their own thing?
Well, personally, I don't think that there's anything on the market today that realistically the government would use in the short term. I think the projects around right now would have to evolve a significant amount before any government would adopt them. And I like to think that the government does their own thing. Unfortunately, they don't really listen to a lot of the leaders in the space. So they might either have a contract with maybe USDC or something like that. But I think they'd rather create their own just so they can have total control, which is kind of what they like, which is the whole reason I got into crypto. So
yeah, exactly.
Can't stand it.
Yeah, Kryptoschain, how do you see this playing out with different governments and their own currencies? Do you think the U.S. will try to develop their own real soon?
No, I totally agree with Blockchain Boy. I think every country is, if they are planning to move to digital currencies, are going to create their own, just because they could be in control. I mean, the last thing they want is to have Coinbase be in control of their currency, right? Think about that. What if something goes wrong? How would they react to that, right? So I think that the idea of the governments in general is to be in control of everything. So yeah, I think that they're going to create their own.
Okay, and then Wendy, what is your thought?
Completely agree. They're going to create their own. I do know for a fact that they have been researching since about 2020. I actually have a series on my channel. I sat down with Jason Brett. He works for a nonprofit and is working with a focus group with some of the bill makers, the lawmakers in DC about this. And they have researched Bitcoin. You can look this up via NIST. They are researching that to see if that's a good fit. I doubt they're going to use Bitcoin, and I doubt that they're going to use Ethereum. I doubt that they're going to use any other currency that is not a stable coin. And it's going to be something that they create themselves because, again, they need to have control.
Really good takes. Real quick before we move on to the next topic, the number one question in the chat, we need to get this out of the way real quick. Blockchain Boy, can you confirm or deny if you are BitBoy's son?
Well, canonically on my channel, it's well known in our community that WendyO is actually my mom. So
okay.
I'm not technically Ben's son. She is my mom.
There you go. So the chat had it. They were close, but they were just
really
off.
weird.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Wasn't expecting that twist.
Although I will say, BitBoy and I look very similar.
You do.
To a scary degree. And I created my channel based on a nickname I got in high school. No, I wasn't even like watching crypto YouTube, and I didn't know anybody in the space when I made my TikTok, so it was completely coincidental.
So they were calling you Blockchain Boy in high school?
Either that or the Bitcoin Boy, because my teachers would laugh at me and say, "You're going to lose your shirt. There's no way it's going to be around." Well, who's laughing now? You know.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the funny thing is, if you do lose your shirt, you can just put on a Cupid costume and make a NFT out of your nipple. That's what I've done.
Oh my God, I've seen that picture so many times on Twitter.
Yeah, they love it on Twitter. So, all right,
we are dropping it as an NFT with Theta in June, so everybody will be. We call it Nipception.
You got to have fun with it. So shifting gears a little bit here, we've got crypto hedge funds. We had a report from Goldman Sachs today coming out saying that they think that Ben mentioned, like, for their investors, buying the Coinbase stock, they think is a good way to get exposure to it. They also mentioned in a kind of leaked report internally that they see Ethereum overtaking Bitcoin this year. We've got Ethereum sitting approximately around a $300 billion market cap, Bitcoin at a $700 billion market cap. And a lot of people are kind of surmising that they think some of this volatility we've experienced in the last few weeks is some of these hedge funds getting in. We had Ray Dalio coming out today. He's made a lot of comments around Bitcoin, about inflation and about hard money, but didn't ever say Bitcoin. Now today coming out and saying he owns some Bitcoin. He, commands one of the largest asset portfolios in the existence right now. So do we think that the hedge funds are some of the biggest buyers in this market right now? I'll start with you, Wendy.
I haven't really looked into much to give a valid opinion on that. I can just kind of go with my gut. But I do think that they are coming into the market. And I do feel like there was a lot of coordinated FUD that happened last week, especially with some of the news that came out today. The suits have been in crypto for a long time. They've been in Bitcoin for a long time. They just haven't came out and said it. As far as the hedge funds coming in, I think they've been here for a while, and I think that they are able to kind of manipulate the markets just a tad bit. But they're definitely buying. Why would they not invest? Why would they not buy?
Yeah, no, good point. And they've got a lot of experience with manipulating markets. They've been doing it for a long time. So, Kryptoschain, what's your take on hedge funds getting involved? Do you think this is good long term, or do you think the manipulation is something that could cause some issues?
No, I think the manipulation is going to cause issues, because if hedge funds have been involved since the bear market, they've been playing around with all the investors, right? Everyone's been getting wrecked when they dumped, and then they're buying back. They're spreading the FUD through news articles, like we've seen with Reuters and other articles, and they're using that power to basically buy in low, sell the top, buy in low, sell the top, rinse and repeat. So I don't really think it's that good, in my opinion, but I do hope that maybe corporations are going to look at investing into crypto, and eventually maybe even supermarket chains. I think if that could happen, that would be great for crypto.
And then Blockchain Boy, do you think some of this FUD we've experienced the last week has been coordinated by the hedge funds, or do you just think it just all happened, from outside different sources?
Well, when I see the news that China has banned Bitcoin for like the 10th time, and then all the news articles come out and everyone's saying Bitcoin is dead, it's never going to come back, I can go back and pull up 12 different, clips from TV shows year after year, people saying the same thing. Hedge funds love volatility. They love to manipulate, get their little grubby fingers into everything they can. So, of course they're going to get involved. But this is just a part of the natural maturity, I think, of crypto. And until we get more, exposure to the average retail investors and more large corporations investing, they're going to be trying to manipulate the market. All we can do is educate people and say, hey, don't let them take your Satoshis from you, I can't stand it.
Yeah. Ben, what do you think about all this manipulation we've been experiencing?
Well, I'll tell you what I've been shocked by. I've been really surprised. Before I got into this, I never knew how much money there was in shrubbery.
Like lawn care?
Yeah, like landscape.
Yeah. Like hedges.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. Oh God! Oh,
I've been holding that one back for about 5 minutes as I let y'all chat, and I was just really ready to come on and hit y'all with that.
I thought it was going to have something to do with the cost of plywood.
Yeah, OSB board, Wendy. Let's get real. All right, listen, guys. Here's the thing. This article that I talked about yesterday on the channel, okay, about the chainalysis surrounding these buys and who was buying it. Number one, I heard what Blockchain Boy said about retail investors being the people that are panic selling. I would say the amount of Bitcoin that was sold by retail investors is smaller than the amount that was sold by these hedge funds and these people trying to manipulate the market. Because the number one set of time or the data revealed that most of the Bitcoin had been held for 1 week to 1 month. And I understand why people would look at that and like take it as like, oh, that's retail investors, people that bought because of the mania. But I don't think that's true. I think the bulk of the retail investors came in, December through February. And when you look at these coins were bought specifically for the purpose of dumping. And that screams of manipulation. That's why they're short-term buys. They spend a few weeks buying all these up and then dumping them on the market. And it's obviously on the blockchain because they're not doing it OTC. They're doing it on exchanges. That's the only way it actually makes a price dump. So that's my opinion on it. And I think it's very clear for another reason that a lot of it is coming from these American hedge funds, because they did some studies and discovered that most of the buying was done in the West, was done in the United States. And we know that because Coinbase had a $3,000 premium on Bitcoin. So a lot of these people were buying up, and even if you buy through the a lot of these buys are done through Coinbase's custodial service, Gemini's custodial service. So these are like professional ways that people can buy still on Coinbase, like from an institutional standpoint. So I think it does not surprise me Ray Dalio came out and said this today. It doesn't surprise me that Michael Saylor and I don't think Michael Saylor is involved in the manipulation as much. I mean, he just seems like a Bitcoin unrealistic moon boy, which I love about him because I can relate. But like anything involving Elon screams of manipulation, obviously. I mean, I'm starting to think this guy really might be, something not good, something evil. But that's my opinion on it. I think the hedge funds are all over this. It makes perfect sense that Ray Dalio came out and said they bought today. It made perfect sense that Goldman Sachs has all these reports today. Like, we're just seeing the narrative change from last week where everything was so negative to this week. Like, everything's looking up, and it's not a coincidence. Media controls all.
Yeah, and it's actually go ahead, hop in.
Sorry, I wanted to ask Ben a question. I have a quick question. I've never actually used Coinbase or Gemini custodial services, but what is the cost to use them as opposed to an OTC desk? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, TJ, do you?
It's pretty similar.
This is actually something we've been looking at. We're trying to get a Coinbase custodial account right now. Actually, we're in the process of it.
It's just very, very slow. You got to submit a lot of documentations, and obviously with the amount of hype right now, it's taken a really long time. Like, we got Gemini custodial done in the bear market pretty quick, and
then we ran into some problems with it too. It's just everything with custodial moves very slow, and everything moves quickly. You like to be a little more liquid.
Right. But I mean, the price difference
because,
should be pretty similar. Should be about the same, approximately.
I was just kind of curious because I'm just thinking to myself, why would they dump on the open market unless they wanted to manipulate it? Because generally when miners take profits, they liquidate a lot of holdings. And the reason why they do this is because they have overhead costs. A lot of people forget to pay attention to mining economics. It's something we talked about on my show earlier today. And they'll do it OTC because they don't want to impact the price. But with these hedge funds, that's why I was asking, if they're dumping on the open market, they're doing it purely for manipulation. And that's why I was kind of curious about the difference in fees and whatnot.
Good point. And then I was actually one last question on this before we move on, or maybe two. But you mentioned, Ben, Elon Musk, Michael Saylor, now Ray Dalio. We've got a lot of big, billionaire type personalities that don't have to answer to anybody. I saw an interesting thing over the weekend. At what level do you think at all their pride plays into this? Of like everybody knows the average price point where Saylor bought. Everybody knows where Tesla bought their Bitcoin. Do you think there's any level of pride that comes in that like Elon's going to come out and defend that 30,000 pretty strong to just prove that he wasn't wrong for pushing that buy? Do you think that plays a factor at all, or not really?
Yes and no. I mean, I think we've seen it with Michael Saylor. Like, we've seen his reaction to different stuff. He wants to be the apex investor in human history.
Right.
So, and I like Michael Saylor. I think he's newer to the market. He's obviously, he's way smarter than I am, just in general, but I was in Bitcoin a long time before he was. I don't know what that says, but I think that there is, look, that's the pride, right? That's the pride element. Right. I gotta tell you, right? Like, I was in here first, Elon's gotta say the same thing. So it's Michael. So I think that like it definitely is an element of pride that goes into it, but I think it's more, look, when it comes to these hedge funds, they are just bloodthirsty, non-emotional, want to crush everyone except for the people in their fund. Like, that's their mindset. Mm-hmm. And so they are dumping to get this at a much lower price, because when you look at owning billions of dollars of Bitcoin at $30,000 and it goes back up to 60, well, now you've made billions of dollars in a very short order. So I'm sure there is some kind of pride hierarchy that comes to being, saying you're the number one, hedge fund in the world. Like, I'm sure there is some value there, but I think in crypto we've gotten so used to like there being a philosophical side of investing, where we think about like, if I sell too much, will I dump the market? Like, what if I, make this kind of thumbnail for a video? Like, is this going to have an effect on the market? There's a lot of talk about that. And, we're trying to be more positive with things even during this time, because we understand it does probably on some level affect people's mindset towards crypto. So I think we in crypto have that more philosophical, visionary mindset. They are strictly about dollars and cents when it comes to the hedge funds.
Yeah. Good point. And actually, we've heard the word inflation floated a lot lately, which could be a big motivator for a lot of these hedge funds to get involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency or crypto assets, so to speak. Traditionally, for thousands of years, gold has always been that hedge against inflation. Now we're seeing people moving away from gold more towards Bitcoin. So I'll start with you, Blockchain Boy. Do you think this could be the end or just like the beginning of a decline for gold over time as an inflation hedge?
Yes and no. I think gold will always have its place. You know, my grandfather actually, they're both jewelers in Athens, Greece, founded their store in, the 60s. So I think gold will always have its place. But, I was originally invested into gold before I was in Bitcoin, just a little bit. I didn't have that much. But I think, Bitcoin offers more of a convincing argument for store of value, primarily because it's permissionless. It's on the blockchain. I don't have to, have anyone tell me, no, I can't send this to this person, and there's no government controlling it. While gold can always be mined. God forbid Elon goes to an asteroid and brings home a space shuttle full of gold, and it devalues the market completely. So Bitcoin offers that true, I guess, sense of limited supply and permissionless store of value. So I like it for that personally, and I think we'll see a lot more people getting into it. But there's always going to be the gold boomers, in my opinion.
Yeah. What Kryptoschain? What do you think? Is gold dead?
Yeah, so I don't want to offend anyone, but I do think that it depends on the generations. I think that the newer generations are more into crypto, and it all starts with the gaming generation, right? If you think about it, in games, you've got digital currencies, so they're more likely to accept the digital money, right? And thus not really that much gold. Whereas the older generation are really pro-gold and they'll badmouth crypto, even though now they're saying, okay, we're going to be investing something in Bitcoin too. But like their mindset is just like all in gold, right? They're thinking gold, they're thinking physical asset, they're classic, right? That's how they're thinking. So I think going forward in the next few years, maybe we're going to see a complete change in this mindset. And I think that likely we're going to see digital currencies coming to adoption eventually. It could be 10 years though.
Okay. Wendy, what do you think? Do you think Peter Schiff has a leg to stand on, or is his time numbered?
Well, Peter Schiff is just Peter Schiff, so that's all I'll say about him respectfully. Okay. But I will say, I do think that gold is still important. I do think that people should consider hedging. They should consider just not dumping everything into Bitcoin. I know that is a very unpopular opinion, but I'm just trying to be realistic here. Also, too, we have to understand gold is a massive industry. A lot of people make a lot of money in it, and it's been around generationally for a long time. Also, when we're talking about cultural, different cultures, United States is not the only country in the world, and it's not the only culture in the world. There's people all over the place globally that value gold for different reasons. So I think gold is still important. As far as a store of value, maybe not so much, because it physically you can remove it from somebody, all different types of things. I do think we will see a generational shift, maybe next generation. So maybe in the next 10 to 30 years, we will see a difference. But we also have to keep in account all the different cultures that do value gold.
Ben, will you ever buy any gold? Ever?
First of all, gold is trash. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you look at gold jewelry, I mean, it's just trash. I'm sorry. We're all platinum over here.
Ben's wife is like this right now, DMing, messaging him. Hey.
No, my wife don't wear gold.
She doesn't like gold?
No, it's trash.
White
I just told you.
White gold or
white
platinum?
gold?
White gold might be all right. White gold's okay because it looks like silver. Cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Gold is a trash color. It's yellow. What the heck?
We're talking white gold is gold though.
Yeah, white gold's gold, but you're only wearing it because it don't look like gold. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I think gold's been dead in my mind. You know what gold's good for? Making a part in your phone. That's what gold's good for.
BitBoy coming with the hot takes. Woo.
Yeah, the hot takes. That's the way it is because it's true. Like, kids growing up don't want to wear gold. You want a gold chain? Who's wearing gold chains? They got platinum everything.
Didn't you just talk to Lil Yachty?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, that's my dude. He didn't have a gold chain on. I'm just saying, little boat. That's my dude. You can't make a boat out of gold. I'm just saying it would sink right to the bottom, just like the value of gold is going to. So, look, a gold plate. What do you think this is? Fox News at freaking 2 a.m.? You think I'm selling gold plates over here? Trying to tell you something from the Capitol Mint? Nah, it ain't happening. Look, here's the thing, okay? In all seriousness, number one, gold uses 157 terawatts of energy per year. Bitcoin 142, I think. So it uses a lot more energy. It's a lot more useless. But there are always going to be people who are going to want to own something physical. I think even like if you look at comic books, right? We're making comic book NFTs. We're doing some cool stuff with that. But like the value of actually holding a comic book in your hand, like if you're a nerd, is still pretty high. You know what I mean? Like that's why they tend to do well. People like to touch things, and I think they always will to some extent, but it will always be like a smaller percentage of people, right? Like they're the people on the fringe. They're like, I would rather have the hard copy, you know? Like I like to have hard copies of video games. I'm an older generation. Like I like to have the hard copy instead of the digital copy. It's easier to switch between systems and different stuff. But
You like to blow on the
I think
cartridge?
that is. What was that? Picture?
You like
How
to
did that
blow
go?
out the
Can you show that?
cartridge? No, I'm not going to do it again. No.
Do the hand motion. Okay.
No, I'm not going to do the hand motion again.
Yeah.
Someone clip that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody clippers.
The chat will get it.
But and also like I said though, the number one value proposition of Bitcoin is that it goes up in value. The number one value proposition of gold is that we need gold to make cell phones, like in technology. That's what we're going to see the transition. We're going to see where gold comes to be much more functional than anything else. So it will still have value, and there will still be people that want to hold something physical. I think owning some gold is, maybe effective, but the newer generation is all digital, and they're going to want all digital stuff. So when you compare the value of gold to Bitcoin, like it's laughable. Like Peter Schiff, think about this, guys. I want you guys to really think about this. Peter Schiff has found more value for himself in being anti-Bitcoin than he ever had being pro-gold. That will tell you everything you need to know. That's his whole brand, is being anti-Bitcoin, because he knows that the days are numbered. It's time for a Schiff, Peter.
Yeah. Well, speaking of shifting gears, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject, crypto regulation. And we talked about, I think, a little bit last Friday about the crypto space race, so to speak, with all the different countries trying to stake their claim in the future of where we're heading with cryptocurrency. We covered a story this morning that shows Chicago coming out with some favorable regulation stuff. We know you're heading over to Texas to meet with the state representatives. They could be passing the virtual currency bill. We know Texas, the 9th largest economy by GDP. So do you think we'll start to see the states leading the charge when it comes to regulation for crypto assets in the United States? We'll start with you, Wendy.
100%. As we know, the United States government moves very, 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 very slow. So it is going to be it's going to come down to the states. I know Ian Calderon, he was a lawmaker in California. I've had him on my show a couple times. He was really, really excited about cryptocurrency and blockchain. And he had to really push the people above him to fund it and to get things going, and it was always a big drama. So in places like California, it's going to be a little bit harder because we have so much red tape. But some of the more progressive states, I believe, when it comes to free thinking and innovation, I feel like it's going to be a fight between the states to see who can kind of take over the techies over in California. So we're going to see a lot of states creating a lot of crypto safe haven laws or being more proactive there to kind of attract more people to come live in their state. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Kryptoschain, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, it's going to be a bit tough because I'm the only guy in this show that doesn't live in the US.
Sure.
So I can't really give my thoughts on that. But from what I've been reading and from what I've been seeing in the news, I've noticed that Wyoming is very open to accepting crypto. And I think that now that more states are going to be following their methods, I think that we're going to be seeing forward-thinking states in the US who are going to be adopting crypto. And then if that does happen, then likely other countries are going to follow too, as we've seen. Like many countries in Europe tend to follow what happens in the US like a few years after, if things go well. So I think that we're going to be seeing that in the next few years. Definitely.
And where are you based right now?
I'm based in Spain.
Spain. Okay, so how do you think they'll kind of stake their claim in all of this?
It's not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, the Spanish government are just looking for ways to tax people on crypto. So they're definitely not looking into the adoption bit. But I mean, I grew up in Ireland, so I'm hoping that Ireland are going to be more forward thinking in that sense, and they're going to attract blockchain companies over there.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they also got they do have the, like, your neighbor over there, Portugal. They're pretty forward thinking, right? They've got very progressive crypto tax laws where I think it's like there's no tax on crypto there, I think.
Well, it's a yes and no. It depends. If you've invested in crypto and it's considered like a capital gains earning, and then you say you're earning something and you want to sell it, then you don't pay tax. But if you're trading, then they will consider that as a taxable event. So it all depends what they're doing. But they've also got a special tax law in Portugal for foreigners, for expats, for 10 years. So you'll be on this special tax code for 10 years when you move to Portugal, and then you can take advantage of that law to reduce your tax rate as much as possible. However, I've spoken to a few people in Portugal, and they said that the government's thinking that from next year they're going to be imposing some regulation on crypto. So I don't know if the tax haven for crypto is going to remain the same next year. We'll see.
All right, well, we'll jump over to you, Ben. I know you're heading out actually right after this show to head to Texas and give your thoughts on Bitcoin to the state legislators and help them kind of formulate their thoughts on how to regulate things going forward. Who do you see as being some of the biggest front runners in the United States for leading crypto asset regulation?
Cobb County, Georgia. That's where I'm at. Probably not. You know what's interesting when you think, I mean, the obvious answers are, Texas and Florida. I mean, those are the obvious answers. Of course, you have Wyoming and you have, Illinois making some progressive moves here. But what's interesting is, we were kind of talking about gold and kind of the changing of the guard and generations, and how people that at one time are innovative and they eventually kind of like age out of that, and then they become more where they're behind the times. And that's one thing that I'm pretty proud of in my life is even as I've gotten older, I've still remained young and hip and on the trends. Okay. But in reality, though, we see this with states too. Like you see California that was so progressive, New York, New Jersey, they're so progressive, like socially, but they're also the business hubs of the world, basically. But what we're seeing those states now age out to where their own progressivism has blocked them from being progressive on new issues. And that's what we're seeing with California and New York. Now we've got states, Texas and Florida, where a lot of people look at those states and say, well, they live backwards there. Like that's what some people would say in the most hippie parts of the country, but they're being the most, financially progressive states out there right now. Is they are trying to find ways to become the new Silicon Valleys because they understand crypto is the next tech boom. So I think obviously Miami is number one right now. Texas is vying to become number two. I mean, Wyoming is very ahead of the pack, but Wyoming is the least populated state outside of Alaska. So, I mean, it's not like anything Wyoming is going to do. No offense to my Cowboys out there in Wyoming, okay? I love y'all a lot. I will tell you guys this. Wyoming is the most beautiful state I've ever seen. I drove through Wyoming, the whole entire state, absolutely phenomenal. I was just there last year. But I mean, it's not going to be a financial leader in the United States because it just doesn't do enough business. I mean, their biggest city there, Cheyenne, you drive through it and you feel like you're driving through some random suburb. Like it doesn't look like any kind of major city. Yeah. It looks like just any downtown of any, Midwest city or Southern city. So I think that is the truth, is that you need states that have population and have a lot of business to become that next, Silicon Valley. And California is forcing all the tech companies right on out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Kind of like what Wendy alluded to, is a lot of these states are looking to attract new business and new people there. Texas, Austin and Miami being probably the two biggest winners of this, the recent pandemic we've experienced, kind of like for reasons you mentioned. They're trying to make it very attractive for people to move there, but then there's also very desirable reasons to live there already. You've got nightlife, beach, an actual city to do stuff, things like that. Whereas what you mentioned with Wyoming, they were probably the first to be very financially progressive, but probably have the least to offer when it comes to like living amenities for people in the future. So one or two more quick questions before we wrap things up today. I wanted to hear what Blockchain Boy thought on, do we think as the states progress these regulations and get them put down, do you think the federal government will just adopt what the states have been doing, or do you think there could be some potential conflict where federal government comes out with regulation that's counter to something that's happening in one state, kind of like what we've realized in the cannabis industry, where you got certain states were pro-regulation and then the federal just lagged behind and didn't keep up. Do you think we'll see something similar with crypto?
So I'm a Florida boy. I was there when they opened Bitcoin Center Miami, and the mayor of Miami cut the ribbon. I know the people who are lobbying for state governments here in Florida, the Florida Blockchain Business Association. And so I've known those guys for years. It's up to us if we want proactive legislation. If we sit on our hands and let the federal government decide what's best, it's not going to be what's best for us or crypto as a whole or Bitcoin. So when I say proactive legislation, I mean exactly what Ben is doing, getting in front of legislators, educating them, and showing them that crypto is not just, some Colombian drug lord laundering money, because that's really what the dollar is for. So, it is up to the states, and I think states' rights are important. And hopefully the federal government will take notes from our state legislature when forming any kind of overarching federal, bills or passing laws of any kind. So, but I do think it's up to us as crypto creators here, and people individually support your lobbying efforts and organizations, and I'm proud to be a Floridian. So
yeah, no,
Amen, brother.
You're repping it well, and kind of like what you said, it starts from the bottom and works its way up. You hear Wendy talking about a lot, getting involved with your local community, supporting local charities. Yeah, Ben's got the sign, started from the bottom, now we're here. So worked our way all the way up.
Did you just kind of like musically that? Like, did you like add a little like at the end, like, now we're here? That's what I heard. I
don't think so. I don't think I did.
Straight from Bobby Hill to Drake.
Bobby Hill to Drake. Well, that's quite the transition. So that's all we have time for today. We had a really good time. Blockchain Boy, it looks like, has the highest score, so we'll let him give 30 seconds to the audience and give him a parting thought. He kind of hit us with a pretty good one right there at the end, but 30 more seconds. Take it away. What does the audience need to hear?
Back for more, I see. Thank you. I appreciate it. For everybody watching, I know the current market conditions have been pretty shaky, and if this is your first time investing in crypto, I know it can be scary, but we all survived this. Don't listen to the noise. Make sure you value true facts and information. And I know things can be a little confusing at times, but just have faith. Have faith. The fundamentals haven't changed. Your investments, you invested in crypto because of the fundamentals, and just don't pay attention to all the noise. Focus on the facts. I guess that's what I have to say.
Yeah, great advice. Focus on the facts. Don't watch what people are saying. Watch what they're doing. That's all we have time for today. If you guys enjoyed the show, please make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description if you want to see more from these people's content. As always, we'll be back tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Please leave us some comments. Let us know who you'd like to see on the show in the future and what some of the topics are you'd like us to discuss. That's all we got today. We're out.